Thank you. I am going to introduce Chris Humphris. Chris joins us from Quiq, and I'm going to do a little intro, and then we're going to talk about a pretty cool partnership that Quiq and Bandwidth have been engaging in for the last few months. So, like I said, Chris Humphris from Quiq. Chris is a seasoned telco executive. Don't you love when people call you seasoned?
Yeah, old.
But he has a wealth of experience working in AI and has actually started in the whole RCS and chatbot industry in 2007. Yeah. So really a pioneer. So I'm going to let Chris introduce Quiq, and then we're going to kind of just talk through some use cases that we worked on together, and then we're going to open it up for questions. How's that sound?
That sounds good. Should we click through?
Yeah, I'll click through. I introduced Bandwidth first. I think I've shared these slides with this group many times before, but it's just a little bit about what we do. We power unified communication platforms like Zoom, Google, Microsoft, and I think it's a nice combination. So we're kind of focusing on the delivery of not only messaging, but voice to brands. And so when the two companies came together to work together, it was a nice partnership. So just a little bit about Bandwidth. You guys can read the slide or go on the website and check us out. Quiq. Who's Quiq?
Who's Quiq? So we are going to talk a lot about AI, but I promise not just AI. Because our mission at Quiq is very much to help brands, we're brand-facing, to deliver the perfect blend of human and AI. And I think that's the secret moving forward, because not all customer engagement, not all inquiries should be resolved by AI, nor can they. And we do that for some of the world's leading brands, so you can see them on the screen there. I just call out a couple just to give you an idea of use cases, really. So Roku, I'm sure you've all heard of Roku and the streaming service. So they've got 145 million customers, quite a low sort of ARPU. So using AI to actually engage those customers across use cases like how do I log in, what's this on my bill, product support is very key. And without AI, obviously, they wouldn't be able to scale in the way they've done. And then also, probably I'll call out Urban there, which is maybe a retailer you guys have heard of, owns Urban Outfitters, Anthropology. And I mention these guys because they deployed AI plus human on our platform on the messaging channels, but they deployed in 2 weeks. So you can move quickly in this market. But the key, as I just alluded to there, is doing that on the channels that your customers love. And I've been, as Stephanie kindly said, been involved in messaging for a long time. In fact, my LinkedIn address, if you remember it, is Move to Messaging. Big proponent like David and Anna on the previous session. And we really do believe they're the channels your customers love. So how do we do that? If we just click on. Go into the technology just briefly, and then we're going to talk a lot about use cases, because I think that's always most interesting. So Quiq, brand-facing, so we've got the customer there in the middle of the slide. And most typically today, in fact, pretty much always, AI is the front line. So whether you're engaging on the voice channel, and like in the previous session, as everyone was saying, voice is not dead. I'm a big messaging proponent personally as a consumer. I love digital channels. Don't like calling a brand personally, but we're not seeing voice go away at Quiq. We're seeing it pretty much stay pretty consistent at the volume. Obviously, AI is the front line there, but it's not going anywhere. So when you build an experience, like, for example, where's my order? Check my bill. You build it once on the Quiq platform, and then you deploy it to channels. So you could start on voice. Most people do tend to start on messaging channels. And there's obviously a whole plethora of channels out there. Most of them over-the-top channels, but the one that really excites us at the moment is RCS.
Right.
Because obviously it's a channel that is persistent. In other words, as soon as a customer is on that channel, If the doorbell rings or they get distracted and they want to come back to the conversation, they just pick it up from their inbox on their
Right.
phone.
Yeah, that's something that we hit on a lot when we were kind of coming together as two companies to work together, is that theme of persistence and navigating seamlessly between each different platform to continue the conversation. So tell us a little bit more about that. Like, how is that driven by AI, and how does that help maybe the human interaction?
Yeah, so I'd say AI is typically the front line. So obviously historically, and we've all suffered with this when it was the era of chatbots, is that it's the front line, but it's there, it's in the way. It's like, how do I get around this damn chatbot because it doesn't understand what I'm saying? I just want to talk to a human. And sometimes now with the power of AI, we sort of joke that sometimes it might be that you're talking to a human that's maybe having an off day and you start shouting.
Because they sound like a robot?
Yeah, give me the AI. I mean, that's when we know AI has made it. But the key is obviously the ROI. You cannot, as we'll show some of the examples in a minute, you cannot engage very early in the buying journey and just be human assisted. The ROI just wouldn't make sense. So AI is great, but as I say, it can't nor should it resolve all issues. So on the same platform, we can then escalate to humans. And I think what's really nice is that once the human agent is engaging with the customer, then AI can assist and actually save another 25 to 30% of sort of human agent time and energy by actually making, no more swivel chairing, actually.
Right, adding context, or so that the person calling doesn't have to explain why they're calling for the third time.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
I know we've got a few slides about the actual partnership.
Yeah.
But I do want to just kind of add a little bit of commentary about how well the two teams work together. So at Bandwidth, we have one registration team, and it's growing, but nowhere near where it needs to be yet. But even though they're resource constrained, they had a really great compliment for Quiq. They were like, we will always take Quiq's agents, even though they're a little strapped for time and a little strapped for resources, but they just complimented how easy it was for the two groups to work together. So I wanted to give you that little prop. And then I just feel like we are focused on the same mission critical delivery, delivering the ability to communicate with brands. We're focused on delivery, and Quiq is really focused on that customer experience and that customer engagement. So just a great partnership.
Thank you, yeah.
And then here, we're going to talk about a couple of use cases. So today, we're going to talk about 3 use cases. We're going to talk about IHG, the hotel brand. We're going to talk about Bob's Discount Furniture, not tires. And then we're going to talk about Panasonic. But why don't you kick us off with Bob's and IHG?
Yeah, and I think probably most excited about that IHG use case, and a quick plug in that we're at, obviously, like I'm sure all of you, at MWC this week, and we're actually on the Google stand with IHG actually talking about this RCS use case. So listen to me today, but if you want to talk to Carter at IHG directly and you're at MWC, come and find us on the Google RCS stand. But in Google, they're not here, so I'll say this, they don't necessarily come up with the best naming with things. They call it a featured snippet, which is like, what's that? But basically, if you type...
I thought it was a cute name. I liked the Google snippet personally, but...
Okay, that's good. So if you type IHG customer support, could be any sort of search string like that, customer service, then a little bit like, if those of you remember Google Business Messages as well, a little bit like that, but with RCS, you can have this featured snippet of, hey, why don't you message us? Mm-hmm. Which for me, I think sort of makes sense. If you're a customer and you're on Google, you're in the digital channel, offering a digital engagement makes sense. Obviously, you can have the voice channel there as well with AI on voice as well. But what's really powerful for me here is that right at source, right when the customer is typing to find that customer support number, before they've even gone near your website, you can go into a persistent messaging conversation.
Yeah, I actually played around with it last week before coming here, and it's a pretty cool demonstration of the service. So unfortunately, it doesn't work on all carriers globally just yet, but if you're traveling back to the United States and you're on a US carrier, you can type in IHG customer service in the Google search, and it'll pop up the ability to actually message back and forth. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the UK, France, and Germany are just a few weeks away. There's one carrier that they need to convince, I won't say who it is, and then we'll
Are they
be
here?
going. And then we'll be going. So, yeah, great example. But RCS, I say, really excited by it as a channel. That's one way of engaging. Of course, you can, like Bob's Discount Furniture, and for those, because I hadn't heard of Bob's, I have to admit, coming from the UK.
It's a US brand, and I kept calling it Bob's Discount Tires, which is not the same thing.
But they are the fastest growing furniture retailer in the US, just floated actually on the stock market, about 4 billion turnover. But Bob's is very innovative with channels, which for me, I think is very exciting. So if you go to the website, you've got, as we'll see with Panasonic in a minute, you've got the option to obviously offer the channel you want to, but if for certain scenarios, Bob's can see the context of what the customer is looking to try to do, it can surface the right channel. And it might be, if it's around a delivery use case, RCS is brilliant because with delivery, there's usually a lot of back and forth, maybe changing the date of the delivery, maybe they try to deliver because this is big furniture, they can't get in. So actually having RCS sitting there in your inbox, and again, as we all know, I'm sure, RCS, unified standard on Android and iOS, so it doesn't matter what phone the customer's on. This is a messaging channel, a persistent, one you can pick up, put down. So yeah, Bob's use RCS, they use web chat and other channels as well, but the nice thing is you can look at the use case and then select the channel to surface.
So before we get to Panasonic, any lessons learned? Were there any gotchas or anything that surprised you as the two teams worked together? Maybe not so much from a bandwidth perspective, but maybe from an industry perspective?
Yeah, sure. I mean, and I realize I'm talking a lot about messaging here. I'm a big proponent of it and need to bring in the AI side as well. I think the lessons on AI are really fascinating in that what we saw is there is a lot of, as we know, sending out sort of communication, sort of one-way communication, sending SMS, no reply. And obviously, if you're trying to reschedule a delivery,
Right.
that's just very frustrating to the customer because they're like, well, okay, I want to change my slot.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about that. Like, how does that work today? What are the challenges today? And then how did you overcome that?
Yeah, I think the key is just briefly to touch on, when you're putting AI in front of the customer so that it's a great experience. Obviously, channel of choice, that's the first layer, if you like, of the 4-layer cake, is offer a channel that makes sense for that use case. The second is to have decisioning in there, like a brain, if you think about it, of, okay, what's the customer asking me? Do I understand this? Is this actually something I can help with? Do I need to pass to a human? If it is something I'm going to help with, the big learning is access to systems. So if you're going to change a delivery, it's kind of obvious, but you want access to the order fulfillment, the sort of slots, the diary, both so that the customer can see quite nicely in a very visual way of what options to pick, but also they're not going to pick a slot that isn't available.
Sure.
So that tool calling, function calling, the ability, sort of more customer experience terms to sort of surface the right tools to make that AI agent really smart and really useful.
Gotcha.
And then the last learning, we can go into the detail of it if you want, but it's almost like the common sense. If you think about an AI agent, just like a human agent, do they understand what the customer wants? Can they make a good decision on it? Do they have access to the systems? And then what's the rules of thumb, if you like, of, well, if it's rearranging a delivery slot, you probably don't want to rearrange, obvious thing to say, you don't want to deliver it in 6 months' time. It's
Right.
going to be in the next week. So giving the AI agent these process guides, as we talk about, that's the biggest learning. You can give AI agents the same sort of rules of thumb, operating manual that you can a human, and you write that in natural language. You write that in English or Spanish or whatever your language is. You're not writing that in code.
Interesting.
So business users can do this.
That's interesting. So were maybe some of the early chatbots written in code?
Now it's all in natural language in
Got
terms of
it.
the instruction set.
Yeah, that's cool. So we're going to talk about Panasonic next.
So Panasonic, I just put as an example that I say love RCS because it's sort of the perfect channel to some degree because it doesn't matter what phone you're on, you don't have to have an app installed, you can use it. But I know David touched on it as well, WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Outside of the US.
It gives both options to communicate either in RCS or WhatsApp.
Yeah, so sometimes, and with Panasonic, we surface WhatsApp. And this we kind of call the chat, the quick chat widget. So you see the little blue bubble, everyone knows what that is, this is going to be chat. But rather than just web chat that's tethered to a web page, we like to offer a channel choice.
Yeah, the green box is new. So tell us about that integration.
So what I really like, just again, some practical insight, is that, so we do this channel choice with WhatsApp and web chat. We do it with Panasonic, and we do it with Accor Hotels, biggest hotel chain in Europe. Now, it's interesting, we offer the same widget, and consistently every month, we see the same choice, the same percentage choice between these two channels. With Panasonic, we see 55%, rough, plus or minus 1 or 2%, it's uncanny, choosing WhatsApp, and 45 plus or minus choosing web chat.
And what's driving that?
Well, it's interesting because with Accor, we see the absolute opposite.
Yeah.
We see Accor's customer base, 55-ish, choosing web chat. So what that tells me is, channel optionality, offering channels, again, like we said with Bob's, dependent on use case, but also in different markets. With Panasonic, we're in 19 markets now. With Accor, we're in even more markets.
Yeah.
So we see differences in different countries. And we also see differences in people using messaging for purchasing, for commerce. Particularly in the Middle East, we see a lot of usage of that.
Yeah, and you also gave a really interesting stat, too. Wasn't the time to market really fast for Panasonic?
Yes, yeah. I mean, deploying messaging with human-assisted for both Accor and Panasonic was 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
We can get that stood up really quickly. AI, I mean, building an AI agent, as I said, with Urban can be quick, but integrating that into a brand's, kind of order fulfillment systems, into their CRM, that's usually the heavier.
A little heavy lift there. What how did you find, the carrier registration process?
Great question. Yeah, so with the different channels, and again, touching on just a couple of the channels that I know David and Anna mentioned as well with Apple Messages, that's an amazing channel as well. Obviously, you can do RCS or Apple Messages with iOS. That is a process where Apple have very high standards, actually, of what the experience is like. And getting that experience approved can take a little bit longer because they set a high bar.
Right.
Don't tend to find it's quite as long a process with WhatsApp, but these things can be done, very quickly with the over-the-top channels. And RCS, I say, it's quite new for some of these use cases. We're about to show 2 more on the next slide. These obviously are brand new, so we're still learning how quick they can be.
Right, and I think we're just scratching the surface. I mean, this is an amazing just use case of how little we know just yet.
Certainly with these, because as I say, Google's naming site links. So basically, what we've got on the left there is Optimum, which is sort of like a MSO or a telco, and here we have a branded search. So somebody's actually, as you can see here, typing on Optimum. And in the organic link that comes up, you've got, again, this ability right within the search result of Google to engage in RCS. And then the example on the right, which I think kind of takes RCS, takes two-way messaging into a whole new world of commerce now is that now you've actually, somebody's typed in insurance there, and actually now it's a paid link.
Interesting. So Optimum was new for me. So tell us a little bit about that brand. What do they specialize in?
Yeah, so it's basically an MSO brand. Again, this is all in concept at the moment because Google's just launching this.
Okay.
So again, in Europe, this is the fascinating thing with each market. They have to launch and obviously agree with the carriers in each market. So this is brand new. It's not available in market yet. Again, if you want a little plug, but you want to come and talk to Google and us a little bit about how this is going to operate, feel free to come to the RCS stand, and we'll take you into much greater detail of how it would operate. But it's not live in the market yet, so we're very excited that hopefully some brands are going to take it there on particular carriers, and obviously you'll be ahead of your competition. But those click-to-message ads, I think, are very powerful in that.
Right.
If you think about it, commerce is completely changing.
100%.
So being able to engage within, the search result, you've paid a lot, and this is, as we talked about a few times, it brings up some interesting quandaries within a brand, which, I think, the audience kind of interested to sort of know how a brand operates in these areas. But typically, this has been, paid search up till now. So the paid search team manager.
Like Google local ads and, click to message through the ads portion of Google. It'll be interesting to see how registration evolves. So right now in the United States specifically, it's a very much a one-stop shop, or a very, it doesn't extend to a lot of different use cases, and especially UCAS and something like this. So it'll be interesting to see how it evolves for sure.
Because, the paid search budget has been managed, and now you're making it conversational.
Right.
You can now engage directly on an ad. If that goes into AI assisted, it's still in self-service, converts online.
Right.
But then what happens if it hands to a human agent in the contact center that then books the sale? Attribution becomes really interesting.
Yeah, so this concept of like campaign drift, like the unique campaign that actually gets registered versus what then is sent. So it'll be interesting to see how we can evolve to handle these unique use cases. I did want to leave a couple of minutes for questions. I think that's all for us, but what questions do you guys have? Anybody? Oh, there is a question. Hi.
Gina Perini from Somos. This has been a really great presentation, panel, making, I think, all of us think a lot about how consumers are engaging all this technology. How do we bring this to the table? One question I have is, as you look at the trends, as you're deploying these omni-channels, what are the trends around actually the most traffic, or where you see a lot of uptake of these types of opportunities? Because it's really exciting, not only as a consumer, but I think as an ecosystem.
Right. What do you think? How would you answer that question?
Well, they're so new that the story is being written. That's what's so exciting. I mean,
because we're just now rolling this out, so there isn't a lot of data. But I wondered if
IHG with that, again, featured snippet, so customer service messaging within Google search. I think a lot of consumers are kind of like, oh, there's a message button. Back to the days of chat where I started, when used to talk about live chat and to brands, and they're like, no, nobody's going to use live chat. Everyone loves email. They're not going to touch it.
Yeah.
And of course, it's endemic now. So I think there's a little bit of surprise still as to all this messaging. I have to admit, I'm Android, I'm Google sort of consumer. So I used to love Google Business Messaging. I thought it was great. So I think it's RCS there is going to have a big uptake, but at the moment it's kind of an awareness challenge, I think. So I'd love to see more promotion.
It's still very new. I think that as we start to roll more agents out and we start to get more and more brands using it, I think we'll have more data. But I know we're just really, like I said, scratching the surface I don't think we really answered your question, Gina, but
But certainly WhatsApp, going to the channels outside of the brand new ones, WhatsApp outside of the US, because obviously US WhatsApp just isn't a big thing. Apple Messages in the US is really big. We do a lot, really great experience. Outside of that, South America, Middle East, massive, and most of Europe, WhatsApp, we see a big uptake of that. I think there's a lot of surprise of, ooh, I can message this company like I can message my friends and family. That's really convenient. I bet it won't work. Oh, it does. This is great. I'm gonna come back. But yeah, I think RCS for me is the channel that can come and just steamroller the others because
yeah. And I'm excited about that. I mean, you've been talking about RCS since 2007. I've been talking about RCS since, 2015. So it's exciting that we're finally getting to talk about real life use cases. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's working. Obviously the beauty of AI is that it's very realistic and natural. So do you give what's your thought on the ethical component of when you're speaking to a brand? Should you tell them that they're speaking to an AI or not?
It's a great question.
Do you want to go first? Or should I?
Sure. I don't know. I don't know if I have any issues with not disclosing it because it's becoming a lot more accepted. Like people know that AI is being used. So I don't think that we would have a problem with it, but what do you think?
Yeah, we ask our customers and do research, and we're always looking at this because thinking back to sort of something slightly adjunct but the same is that you've kind of got this creepy or cool measure, I think. If something is too personalized, knows too much about what you're doing, and
It's a little scary, right?
Your
Are you
reptile
freaked out?
brain, your reptile brain freaks out. So I do feel it's good to say that it's AI because if it's a great experience, then people are like, there's an unexpected outcome there. It's like, wow, that was really good. And I think on voice, again, I could talk about this all day, so I'll just say it briefly. We have different brands that pick very different speech to text, and then text to speech in particular to Spirit Airlines in the US, for example, want to make sure that the voice is very obviously AI.
Interesting.
They don't want people to have any doubt this is AI.
Yeah.
It's a little clunky compared to the smoothness of the conversation like we're having as two humans. Whereas other brands are going to want to make sure that latency, that kind of level is there. But I personally think it's always good to say it's AI, just not to trigger that reptile brain in us humans.
I have one question, which was, you mentioned with the Panasonic example. In the Panasonic example, the most tricky thing was or one of the most tricky things was the CRM integration. Could you just tell us a little bit more about that? What did they need in their CRM, and what was all that about?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's interesting that, and I won't name the different CRMs, I'm so tempted to, but I won't. Obviously, CRMs are big systems now, very big systems, and they're not really necessarily come in AI enabled. And what I mean by that is that how a AI might want to use and get access to information from a CRM, just like a human. The humans find the workarounds and the ways to do it. We need to write in these process guides, these sort of rules of thumb, how to access that information too, because CRMs are very structured, and customers typically are not very structured in how they ask for things. So getting that layer in the middle, we've actually found that what we call eager prompting, and again, I get very techie if you want, but making sure that you're pulling information from the CRM that you probably would use or you might be using in that conversation early is really powerful, because then, particularly if it's on voice, you don't have to look that information up when that comes up in the conversation. It's already there. It's like having your notes. You sort of
log
Right.
AI's
It's like
got
a
it
script.
there.
Yeah.
So we found that has improved and sped up the CRM integration pools by actually doing this eager prompting of getting the AI agent to pull in everything it thinks it needs right from the start. Great.
I've got lots more questions, but we have run out of time. It was really interesting, Stephanie and Chris. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.